Sheila, and I'm just following up here. I did have some people ask me to do specific questions that I was asked in my interview for GOE, or the Yeongcheon Office of Education, and for Yeongcheon English Town for my job teaching in South Korea. Now I'll start with the GOE program. For that interview, let me see, I spoke with Daniel. Yes, Daniel, and he was basically a Korean American who had been teaching for about 3 years, and then he moved up to the Office of Education. And in the interview, he asked the basic questions as far as, your age, your college, your current employment, and things like that. And then as far as the more specific questions, they ask, why teaching, why Korea, your teaching philosophies, and things like that. Now, he specifically asked me at one point to do a mock demonstration of teaching. And what happened is he said that he would pretend to be the student, and then I would pretend to be the teacher, and then that he would just, do the dialogue that way. And so when he pretended to be the student, he came to me and he said, teacher, can you tell me what seasons are? And then at first I was a little caught off guard as far as that, because I'm like, okay, seasons, salt and pepper, wait, not seasoning, seasons. And so then I thought about it after a couple of seconds, and then I said, oh, seasons. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I was like, seasons. In the summer, it's warm. In the winter, it's cold. In the fall, the leaves fall off the trees. And in the spring, it rains. And so I was so nervous about it, and that's what I did. And, he smiled and he said, that was good. And then he made a suggestion. He said, students, especially young students that I would be teaching, they learn better based on visual aids. So he said it would be better if for the summer I drew a picture of a sun on the board, or for the winter I drew snowflakes and things like that, because students, pick it up better with visual aids. And then as far as other questions, he also asked how I would deal with classroom management and things like that, and discipline, and making sure that the students stay on track. And he also asked about how I would work with my co-teacher as far as not only maintaining discipline in the classroom, but also as far as if I had issues with the co-teacher, how I would deal with that. And he was interested to know what kind of relationship I would be having with the co-teacher, because that is a big part of it. Generally you'll have a co-teacher, a co-teacher in the classroom with you. And he wanted to know as far as that. And what other questions did he ask? Like I said, he asked about teaching philosophy, or he asked about a time where I had to demonstrate my problem-solving skills, and I told him about my recent job and things like that. He also asked about how versatile I was as far as dealing with change, because he said, with ESL, something might change like on a weekly basis or things like that. Like I might come in one day and things are a certain way, and then I come in a different day and everything has changed, and I have to be able to think on my feet and deal with that, which is something I already had experience with because of my previous job. Change was something that happened daily, sometimes hourly. So he was happy to see that. Overall, it was nice. It was fun. He actually smiled. He laughed. He engaged me a lot. And the questions were pretty much, like I said, straightforward and things like that. Now, to go on to the Yeongcheon English Town School, that interview, and that's also a public position, but the school hires directly rather than a program. And for that interview, it was a little shorter, actually. The questions were the same as the beginning as far as age, college, education, things like that. And they asked about, why teaching, why Korea as well. That's something that generally all of the interviews will include, those basic ones. But the Yeongcheon English Town one, it didn't include any of the, like classroom based where role playing and things like that. It was more straight to the point, like, okay, you know, do you like spicy food? How would you adjust to culture shock and things like that? Now, like I said, this one was a lot shorter, and actually, I was surprised at how short it was because I thought maybe shorter meant not that the results weren't going to be that good, but certainly it meant it wasn't that because I that's the position that I have now, and that's where I'm currently teaching. But like I said, the questions were the same pretty much for both of the interviews, except maybe a little as far as the dialogue for GOE versus no dialogue for Yeongcheon English Town, and then Yeongcheon English Town asked the same about the co-teaching and classroom management as well. So pretty much, I feel like from my experience, all the positions that you interview for will be pretty similar as far as the questions. So if you look online or something like that, and you see other questions and things like that, it'll pretty much be the same as that. They, like I said, they might change a question or two somewhere based off the situation, but it's pretty much across the board. They want to know why you want to teach, why Korea, what your skills are, what your teaching philosophies are, how you work with a co-teacher, as far as how you do lesson planning. That was one of them for Yeongcheon. Are you able to do lesson planning? And can you adapt to change? And culture shock, are you able to, quickly adapt? And do you have any food? Oh, that was a good one. Do you have any food allergies, or do you have any dietary restrictions? Are there a lot of food that you don't like? Because in Korea, I've learned, only being here a few days so far, but there's so many different foods. And so far, I like pretty much all of them. And I used to be a very, very picky eater back home. So it's kind of amazing me that I haven't found anything that I dislike yet. So they really do want to make sure that you are open to not only just the cultural changes, but the food and things like that. But like I said, as far as questions, they're pretty standard all across the board. And I do hope that this video is helpful to you guys as far as if you're considering teaching English as well. And if you have any other specific questions as far as, how I got my public position or things like that, definitely ask me because I can give you that information. I am currently teaching here in South Korea only for a few days so far. But I can definitely try to answer your questions as best I can. And definitely subscribe and like the video and comment so that, you can stay up to date with me as far as my journeys here, because I will continue to post the videos about how everything is going and things like that. So, see ya.